Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy, and welcome back to a brand new movie review. I'm Chris Garner, joined tonight with George Aldridge, continuing our reviews on all of the nominees for Best Picture this year at the Academy Awards. And tonight's going to be, I don't know if fun one's the right word for it. This is a movie that both me and you were absolutely dreading on watching. This is Phantom Thread, which is a 2017 romantic period drama directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and obviously starring Daniel Day-Lewis and Vicky Krieps. I don't even know where to start with this one, guys. I mean, from the trailers, yeah, go on.
The main thing with this film is that he announced his retirement halfway through filming, and I completely understand why.
This is the movie that has killed Daniel Day-Lewis's career. This is the movie that made him retire. And that probably sets the stage for where we're going to be going into with this review, but I guess we're going to go spoiler free when we first go into it, although in all honesty there's pretty much nothing to spoil with this film. If you've seen any clips from it, if you've seen any trailers, the movie, in my opinion anyway, even after seeing it, is pretty dull. Not a whole lot happens, and even if you're just going into it from like a performance standpoint, like you see Daniel Day-Lewis's name on there, you're expecting something incredible. And while I won't go as far as to say he turns in a bad performance in this movie, to have this as the final movie of his filmography, and I mean, the guy's he's one of the best actors in the business. You look at his previous body of work, pretty much like no bad performance at all. This one's just kind of and that's really how I feel about the entire movie. So I guess, I mean, we could close the review off right here because I'm pretty much done after that. But what were your thoughts going into this one?
Going into it, well, I think I avoided normally with Oscar films, I don't look at trailers. I try not to. And there's always a couple of films that are just so Oscar bait. It's the Oscar bait of Oscar bait. They're only being greenlit because they can be up for Oscars. And yes, this is a Paul Thomas Anderson film, but if you pitch this film to someone, it's not saying you're going to put it for Oscars, they wouldn't have greenlit the film. Heading into it, I did see one trailer and it left me, you know, that Simon and Garfunkel song, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend? That was not just me watching the trailer, that was me watching the entire film.
Yeah.
So going into it, I wasn't looking forward to it, but as one of my friends that watched it said, you know, I really liked this, and I was like, I'm going to see it. It's one of the best film. I kind of need to see it, but I'll go in a slightly more open that I know one person that did like it, and no, I didn't. I gave it a chance. Don't get me wrong. I gave it time, and you know, 30 minutes in, there's still no story that's been set. It wasn't even one of them films that's got no story because it's a day in the life of. It's just about I mean, they don't even call him a tailor, do they?
No, they call him a couturier. I think is a very fancy word they've given him on Wikipedia. But this is a good segue, because if we can't even explain the plot, let's see what IMDb says about it. So for anyone who doesn't know anything about Phantom Thread, it's set in the 1950s London. Reynolds Woodcock is a renowned dressmaker whose fastidious lifestyle is disrupted by a young, strong-willed woman, Alma, who becomes his muse and lover. So really, like, the entire film is, I mean, you mentioned it doesn't have much plot, and I'd agree with that. Really, the entire crux of the movie is just seeing this relationship blossom, if you can call it that word, and then sort of stagnate, and then watch as both of their personalities clash, but yet in that somehow they manage to find a companionship and some deep-rooted love there. So I mean, that could be interesting. I mean, any kind of like relationship like that, where you see these two actors sort of like regress as the film goes on, and you see what started as a great relationship, and ultimately you want to see how it breaks down. But to me, you kind of get that within the first half hour. You realize that this guy, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, is not a nice guy to be around. He's very, you know, he puts all of himself into his work. He doesn't like to be distracted by other things. He kind of reminded me of Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock from the BBC series, how he's like completely asexual, and he's just like almost like married and worships his work. And then all the other things around him are kind of trivial, and he doesn't pay much notice to it. And his wife comes along, Alma, and she wants some attention, as a wife would, and he doesn't want to give her attention. And you get that from the off. And you really don't, the film wants you to believe that she has this love for him, she has this connection to him, and she can see past all of his problems. But as a viewer, like, I didn't really get that. Like, even by the end of the film, I guess I'm jumping to spoilers now. Even by the end of the film, it paints this like really idyllic picture of the two together when they've just lived in nothing but misery for the last 2 hours, 10 minutes of the movie.
They're not the only ones that lived in misery. Yeah, it's hard not to talk about spoilers because, in all honesty, you first of all you said it's his wife, so that's your first spoiler. But the only other spoiler is mushrooms. Like, you know, I mean, this film is built of performances. I think, in my honest opinion, this film it's very well made. Like,
yeah,
the cinematography is fine, the script is fine, the design is fine, and the blah blah blah. It's all fine. But when you're not invested in the story or the characters,
yeah,
it's truly a mountain.
They're always the two focal things.
Yeah, and
going into a movie.
I can't sort of align with any of them because they're both quite. I don't want to say they're both despicable. Alma certainly is despicable, but with him, you see he's married to his job.
Yeah,
and literally in like his first scene of Alma, he says, "I don't ever want to get married. I just want to be a bachelor. I care too much about my job," and she's still trying to get like him married and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, in that he's explained his character to him, and you know it by his very first scene when he gets rid of his first girlfriend. You know, when he's got his creepy sister, who's again another great performance, another strong thing. But this film reminded me so much of There Will Be Blood, and this is where the hate comes in, because I've said this to you in tape before. I do not like There Will Be Blood. I never liked There Will Be Blood.
I don't like it either.
And I thought it's the exact same as this. It's put together great. The script is fine. The performances are fine. But There Will Be Blood, I was not invested in any of it, although I did like it at the end when he uses the bowling ball. But this film felt like a replica image, but you replaced the oil with clothes. Mm-hmm. And you replace his son with his missus.
Yeah.
And they're almost the entire film. It's a man dedicated to his job who's going so far over his job that he neglects the other person in his life, leading him towards the ending where he changes his ways in order to be that different person, but not also change his ways. It's the same two films. And like the other one, I kind of was counting down the time so I could go home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even that one, again, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, I'd say the only difference is that Daniel Day-Lewis's performance in There Will Be Blood is so much more animated, and you know, there's much more going on with it, I would say, in that movie compared to this one. And I know that the characters are two different things, and don't get me wrong, if Daniel Day-Lewis started acting like his character in There Will Be Blood, it wouldn't have fit this movie. It would have made this movie a hell of a lot more entertaining had he have played it like that. I don't think the... Go on, sorry.
I say, could Bill the Butcher play the role?
Oh my God, I wish.
That would have been amazing. When someone makes a mistake on the clothes and he just turns around with like
brings out the meat cleaver. Yeah, that would be awesome. Like, I don't have a problem with this film painting its characters as despicable. Like, there's plenty of movies that I like where the main character isn't like the most prime example of a human being. But even like you could like compare it to another character like Jack Nicholson's character from The Shining. Like, I know that's more like horror based and like the hotel's playing with his head, but when he like berates his wife for walking in on him with like bringing his breakfast when he was working, and he basically tells her to get the fuck out of here, like when he's working, not to come in at all. There's kind of moments like that too. There's Daniel Day-Lewis's character in this film has a lot of little tics, especially at breakfast. His sister explains that it's a quiet time. If she's scraping the toast too much or chinking the cutlery, then it like throws him off and he goes a little bit insane. So there's little moments like that in the performance that are interesting, but the film kind of, to me, felt like it was very repetitive. Like it kept giving us the same scenes to bulk up its runtime. And yet by the end of the film, it almost felt like we hadn't progressed anywhere. It felt like it's been everything that we'd already seen before.
Yeah, it was repetitive, and it reminded me of I, Tonya, where something happens and they repeat that scene 3 times. With this, how many times does she need to upset him? How many times do we see her interrupting him at work, him doing his job, him getting angry before something happens? And it was so repetitive. It just made it so, because while it was repeating, the story wasn't progressing. It was just demonstrating again a scene from their lives. And I thought Daniel Day-Lewis is great in it. And like what you said, it's the little things that make him tick. And when he gets, I don't want to say angry, but to me, I think this film, not on down to this, but I think the character and the role of his name, I forgot it, Woodcock.
Reynolds Woodcock, yeah.
I feel that just the character, you can't get the best out of Daniel Day-Lewis because there's not enough to work with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's interesting because I know he's picked this. I know Paul Thomas Anderson, and he rarely picks it to one's wisely, but I just couldn't imagine. Oops, sorry. I couldn't imagine him wanting to go out on this film, and it's quite sad that he has, because I mean, he could have gone out in Lincoln, won his Oscar, played Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, blah blah blah. Could have gone on that, but he didn't. He could have gone out so many other times, but to go out on this, I really don't like the fact that he's gone out on this film.
I don't think he's going to be gone. I think he'll definitely come back.
He's retired before, hasn't he? He'll come back as in Paul Thomas Anderson's next film, where it's about a window cleaner this time, and he'll also get nominated for Best Actor.
Oh God, anything would be better than this movie. I think at this stage, I'd take anything after this one.
Well, I went and saw Black Panther again, so really I went.
Yeah, you cleansed the palate quite effectively after that one, I think. No, I'm still reeling after this movie. Let's go into things that we did like then, because I think it's clear to say that we didn't like this movie. We both found it pretty dull and not much going on. For me, if I'm going with positives, I actually really did like the music. Johnny Greenwood did the music. It's mostly piano-based and sort of mostly in the background. There is a theme there that kicks in every then. It was like easy to listen to, and I quite liked it. Cinematography-wise, it's great. Some of the shots are like, you can tell that Paul Thomas Anderson knows how to work a camera, knows how to direct shots and everything like that. God, I am really struggling now to think of anything else. That is, in all honesty, it's pretty much it. And it kind of stems back to what you just said, how the film itself is well made. It's a competently made movie. It's just sort of like the meat of the story didn't gravitate towards us. And I'm sure this movie does gravitate towards some people, as you said, one person that definitely likes this movie, which is probably going to be like the one person cheering from the seats who goes and watches this movie. But I don't know. It was fine. Like, the performances were fine. Nothing stood out to me. The film was well made, but there was nothing in the story there to keep me gripped for the amount of runtime. It's a very slow burn movie. If you like these kind of movies, sort of like the romantic drama ones, there might be something there. There might be something unique in this relationship that on paper should not work at all, but for some reason they find some kind of mutual connection. We're going to get into spoilers with that one, because that's like a whole topic of discussion. But to me, even like in terms of that intense romantic angle, it never really landed with me when it hits the ending. It felt like it was very trite. It didn't feel like it was very earned, and it didn't make me believe that character's perception of that relationship, judging by all the evidence in the movie. Maybe that was the intention, in that this is quite a unique relationship and sort of like the layperson wouldn't understand this connection. But if the audience isn't understanding that connection, then it almost feels like the 2 hours, 10 minutes that you've been watching the movie have been wasted, or haven't been constructed away and put across in a way where you get that ideology like the main character.
Yeah. I agree with kind of that. I think one other thing, this is the stuff we like as well. Individually, one of my... am I going to slag off again, Sam? When the film progresses in the story, and this has stuck with me, I think I messaged you during this bit, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Not just the fact it's the most exciting scene, but he gets... we're in spoilers as well. He gets food poisoning. That's the biggest spoiler of the film. As Nicolas Cage famously said, not the bees. In this film, you can scream, not the mushrooms, and not the magic kind either.
I could have done with some of them to get me through this movie, I think.
I think it would have slowed down time.
Yeah, maybe.
The biggest change of his character arc comes from him getting food poisoning. Such a criminal offense. Poisoned by his psychopathic girlfriend for not giving him enough attention. Whereas in mine, I said earlier, and he says at the start of the film, his job is his priority. She gives him food poisoning, and then he decides to propose to her the next day. And then they get married, and it's all hunky-dory for a tiny bit. And then he gets angry again, and so she gives him food poisoning into the film.
Mm-hmm. And then we're meant to assume that after the film finishes, like, they're just going to keep repeating this pattern of emotional neglect food poisoning, couple of days where they're really close together, and then back to normal.
Yeah, I absolutely hated it because it's such a major character arc, not arc, but a character moment. All he does is have food poisoning for like a day. And his best scenes come with his sister, I thought, it was just them two, not with Alma.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of neglect her off one scene and replace her with Alma, which is a shame. But I think for what happened in the story, they just completely down it by having him make a humongous character choice within like 2 minutes of that scene happening, where there are other moments in which that could have been done.
Yeah.
But I won't lie, like it's so depressing. The most exciting part of the film is someone getting food poisoning.
I'm going to have a very disturbing read into this movie right now that I kind of was mulling over as the film was going on, but I think I've got it now. This movie has a very uncomfortable underlying sense of an Oedipus complex with Daniel Day-Lewis's character, where we get told very early on that, well, his mother's deceased, but you can tell that he had a very, very close relationship with his mom. Like, he absolutely idolized her. Talks about her very fondly at the table, and even says that when he does his work, like, she's constantly with him. She's like his guiding light, really, and everything he does. That's fair enough. That's an okay quality to have. Then when we bring in the character of Alma, he says, you know, like, she's his muse, that she's also aiding him, like his creativity. She's almost working alongside his mom. And then, like, the usual, like, sort of motherly trait is to, you know, comfort someone and to shower them with attention. So when she poisons him with the mushrooms, and he almost goes very childlike, I think, in those scenes, like how he's tucked up in bed and wants comfort and everything like that. She's at his bedside. She almost seems very motherly, and he sort of lets her, you know, unfolds into her comfort, really. So I think you could read into that there's some kind of Oedipus complex going on, where maybe he fancied his mom, because the way he talks in the film, I got very uncomfortable with it. It didn't seem like a sort of natural, like, oh, my mum was a great woman. It seemed like there was something there. And I don't know if that was what the director was trying to get across. That might be reading into it too much. But I think there's probably definitely some sort of like motherly traits with Alma when she's looking after him and caring for him.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what they're going to continue with their relationship, because she gets satisfaction from that, and he clearly does as well. I don't know. I don't know if I'm off base on that, if I'm reading into it too much, but I got a little bit of a hint of that as well.
No, I think you're spot on with that, because that dynamic is there as well. And I think when you trace it back to the early scenes, he says that to her on the first date. He tells her all about his mum and her wedding day and other stuff. And that is actually quite well, it could have happened.
There's even a scene where he sees, like, sort
his mum in the room with her.
His mum in the dress, and Alma walks into shot almost across the mother standing there. I mean, that could just be a case, but like, it's also like a visual thing of that she might have now taken the place of the mother, because also in that scene, once she walks across the frame, we don't see the mother's silhouette standing there anymore. It's just Alma in the room with him from that point. So I don't know, maybe there is something there with it.
Yeah, no, I think the mom does come back, because she walks across. I was expecting her to walk across the shot and it to disappear and vanish, but she stayed there. But I think he definitely had some mother issues. But even with his sister, he had to quite creepy. But he's someone that he's like a sport brother. He needs a lot of attention to get stuff done.
Yeah,
and he says, you know, he wants her most by his side when he's ill on bed. So it has got a point. But I just thought I was so not invested. I just didn't really care in the nicest way about sort of. You know, as the film progressed, like when there's a major shift, it just got more and more like, I need this to finish now, just to get out of my sight.
Yeah.
But there was definitely some stuff, and he caught the way he talked about her, the opening stuff. You know, I was thinking about her. She's been in my dreams and stuff, so it foreshadowed her coming in at the end. But there is something weird. There's something creepy going on, but it's all just. It's a character piece, isn't it? And you have to sit there and apparently say it's the best thing in the world, and that it's rightfully up for things. And you know that malarkey. This is one of them. I think this is most of the videos. I don't normally get big on Oscar season. Like, I love the Oscars and stuff, but I very rarely watch every film. And it's seeing this. This is probably one of two this year that I feel is the most Oscar bait, and this is the worst kind of Oscar bait, the La La Land type.
Yeah,
where it's so designed, the whole concept of it is designed for Oscars, where it just sickens me watching this.
Yeah. Well, this movie's been nominated for 6. It's up for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Score, and Best Costume Design.
It's winning none.
What, sorry?
It's winning none.
It might win Costume Design.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, of course, it'll win that.
So it'll win one. But no, because I thought it was going to be like, well, it's like Gary Oldman against Daniel Day-Lewis, and there's still a part of me thinks that Daniel Day-Lewis might take it if they go with the whole retirement angle. But watching this movie now, finally, Gary Oldman deserves to absolutely walk it. But we can't get too much into Oscar predictions, everything, because we've already done a video on Oscar predictions, and we'll have our live stream during the actual night of the Oscars, Sunday night. We'll have times and stuff on our Facebook and Twitter. I've pretty much said everything I can on Phantom Thread. I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add at the end.
At least after Sunday, I've never got to think about this film again in my life.
Oh, amen to that. But no, so that'll do it for our review on Phantom Thread. Be sure to comment, subscribe, let us know what you thought of the movie. Maybe you liked it. Maybe you're like us and didn't like it. Anything regarding Phantom Thread or the Oscar nominations, please do drop us a comment. Also, let us know what your favorite Daniel Day-Lewis performance is, because he's had a lot of good ones. Maybe not this one, but there's definitely a lot of other good ones before this one. So I guess we should talk about our Oscar night then. So as I said, Sunday night we'll be doing a live stream during the Oscars. And there's still a couple of days left. We want you to send in your lists of Oscar predictions. So for each of the categories of the night, we want you to send in your first and second choice. We'll be keeping a running total as the night goes on. Whoever gets the most points, whoever gets the most correct throughout the night will win a chance to feature on one of our future episodes. So we had a lot of fun with that last year. We had about 4 or 5 sent in to us. It was good fun. Like to get you guys involved, so please get those sent over to us. If you send them into our Facebook, as I said, the links to our Facebook and Twitter are down below. In the next couple of days, we've got 2 movies to get through before the Oscars are here. So we have Lady Bird and Call Me By Your Name. So I think Lady Bird is going to be our next review. I think we're shooting for a review on that on Friday. So yeah, keep it checked here if you like your movies, if you like your Oscar movies in the lead up to it. And I think that'll do it. Have we got anything else to announce?
I don't think so. I was trying to think of a thing to say about Phantom Thread. But go watch Black Panther at the cinemas, people.
Yes, go watch that and check our review on it as well. That was one of our latest reviews, so go check that out. That was a really good one. That'll do it for us, and until the next video, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.